Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. This is the newsandnews.com Day in Brief on April 2nd at about 7:30 p.m. For a president who hates what he calls fake news, President Trump has an uncanny ability to make facts, or what he insists are facts, support whatever argument he wants to make. Last week, he suddenly threatened to close down the southern border in reaction to news that border crossings are soaring and that there is a real crisis on the southern border, despite what many Democrats had argued. Today, Trump backtracked big time, justifying his reversal by claiming Mexico had increased its apprehensions of migrants. Of course, that's not the real reason he changed his tune about closing the border. The simple truth is that he softened his stance because shutting down all trade with Mexico would have been catastrophic economically for the U.S., something Senate Majority Leader McConnell stressed today. Millions would lose their jobs, produce prices would soar, and the auto industry would quickly grind to a halt because many of the parts it needs come from Mexico. Again, Trump seemingly speaking first and thinking later. Members of Trump's cabinet did try to stop him last week from making another dumbfounding move, this time on health care. But his decision to try and overturn Obamacare in court was supported by his acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, and some of Mulvaney's allies in the Trump administration. Trump then spent a week repeatedly promising phenomenal health care and that the GOP would be the party of great health care. Now, Trump says we'll have to wait until after the 2020 election. In a series of tweets, he seemed to accept political reality, saying Republicans are developing a great plan, but that it wouldn't be voted on until 2021, quote, when Republicans hold the Senate and win back the House. Why he didn't understand last week that Republicans didn't have the votes to pass any health care plan is beyond me. Even the most simple-minded of political observers could have predicted this would happen. Many GOP leaders had distanced themselves immediately from the move to get rid of Obamacare. So now that Trump admits there will be no Republican plan for the next couple of years, it begs the question of what happens if the courts do overturn the Affordable Care Act. On the Twitter warpath, Trump tweeted that Democrats, quote, have become totally unhinged after House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler said his committee will authorize a subpoena this week to obtain the full unredacted Mueller report. Trump is accusing Nadler of playing politics because he's right. Nadler opposed the release of the Starr report on Bill Clinton, saying precisely the opposite of what he's saying now. Nadler is also among 6 committee chairmen who sent a letter to Attorney General Barr demanding he testify before Congress as soon as possible, not in a month, as he has offered. Trump slammed Nadler and one of the other chairmen, whom he called Shifty Adam Schiff, tweeting, quote, nothing will ever satisfy them and that it is now time to focus exclusively on running our great country. The House Oversight Committee issued a subpoena today to compel the former director of the White House Personnel Security Office to testify about the Trump administration's policies regarding security clearances. A whistleblower told Congress that senior Trump officials granted clearances to at least 25 people whose applications had been denied by career employees. It's not clear who's on the list, but Democrats in Congress are reportedly focusing on 9 people, including Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, John Bolton, and Rob Porter. Earlier reports had claimed President Trump ordered his then Chief of Staff John Kelly to grant a clearance to Kushner after it was denied. Yesterday, in a rare interview, Kushner dismissed that as another of the crazy accusations he has had to face. Trump is trying to frame hurricane aid to Puerto Rico as an us-against-them situation where any further money that goes to the island is money that is taken away from farmers who were flooded in the Midwest. He seemed to imply that Puerto Rico was not fully American, referring to it as a place in a tweet and that country in a TV interview. He also slammed the island's politicians as incompetent or corrupt, claiming $91 billion were sent to the island, quote, more money than has ever been gotten for a hurricane before. Neither is true. Governor Ricardo Rosselló demanded Trump stop spreading disinformation, pointing out that Puerto Rico has only received $11 billion, and much more was expended on Katrina relief. However, Democrats are playing politics themselves, including the senators who are running for president. They rejected a disaster aid package for the key caucus state of Iowa. Meghan McCain and Nancy Pelosi are defending former Vice President Joe Biden after a second woman has accused him of inappropriate touching. McCain called him one of the truly decent and compassionate men in American politics. Pelosi said the accusations against him do not disqualify him from being president, even though a couple of the announced 2020 candidates in her party have said they believe the accusers. However, Pelosi did suggest Biden be less touchy-feely, saying he should join what she called the straight arm club and stay at arm's length away from people. Biden's issues may change Mike Bloomberg's mind about throwing his hat into the 2020 ring. The former New York mayor and mega billionaire had apparently decided not to run, in part because he expected Biden to get into the race. Axios reported today that Bloomberg might reconsider if Biden doesn't run or fades fast. Bloomberg would then run as a centrist when most Democrats in the race have been pushing each other further and further to the left. Forbes estimates that Bloomberg is worth $58 billion, so he could fund a presidential campaign out of his petty cash. A vigil at the site where rapper Nipsey Hussle was killed on Sunday turned into chaos last night. Hundreds of people had gathered to honor the rapper when inaccurate reports of shots fired triggered a stampede. 2 people are in critical condition, 2 others have serious injuries. Most of those hurt were trampled on when the crowd rushed away. Police have identified a suspect in the killing and said the shooting was the result of a personal dispute, not gang violence. British Prime Minister Theresa May says she will again ask the EU for an extension beyond the current deadline of April 12th to break the Brexit logjam. She says she wants to meet with opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn to hammer out a plan that Parliament will approve. But making nice with Corbyn is angering members of May's own party, and there's no guarantee the EU will agree to an extension. The EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, said earlier that Brexit without a deal becomes day after day more likely. It took less than 3 months for the U.S. to exceed the total number of measles cases for all of 2018. Outbreaks in several states may be getting worse. Massachusetts health officials are warning of potential exposure to measles after the state's first case was diagnosed. That person visited a series of public places, and the disease is extremely contagious. In Europe, nearly 83,000 people contracted measles last year. This is all a direct consequence of the anti-vaccine movement, and it's putting the health of all of us at risk. Measles was deemed eradicated from the U.S. at the turn of the century. How things have changed. We have all those stories and much more updated around the clock 7 days a week at newsandnews.com, where you will find all you need to know in one place. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the right of your screen just below this video. Please follow us on Facebook at Real News and News, and follow me on Twitter at AMoraTV. I'll see you again tomorrow.